Hey, Charlie, what's been the thing that's created the biggest impact more recently for you?
Training my mind.
Yoda comes out. The sage. All right, expand.
This is a really interesting point for myself, and something I recognize is that at times in business where I've experienced the biggest form of growth, where it all started was me, right? So it's if I grow first, then business would grow on the back of it. And I'll use some examples here to really expand upon this point. When I first got into investing, right, what made a huge difference for me was learning and working on my thoughts when it came to debt. And specifically there, it was with George Antone's book, The Debt Millionaire. So when I spent the time to level myself up and train my mind around what debt means for me in this world, the follow-on effect from that is that I was able to be a successful property investor. Where if I tried to be a property investor without first working on me and my beliefs around property and how I view property and all of that, I would have failed, because I, in this case, would have likely been too debt adverse. I would have tried to do things in a way and it would have prevented the growth. Now, I've had this happen to me on repeat throughout my life. Like, potentially people are sick of hearing the stories of I had a very impactful mastermind with Ben Simkin. That was a very, very inflection point for me. So once I've known this, right? So once you have a few experiences where it's okay, step one, level up you. Step two, then work on the thing. That's been a substantial change point for me. So actively now, when I'm pursuing a higher level of growth in business or trying to do something more there, that's the area I work on. Now, when I don't, and this is the picture I want to paint, when I'm let's say my mind is operating at a certain level and I'm striving to do something more, what tends to happen is I get really burnt out. I get frustrated. I end up in a lot of indecision. I end up being, I suppose, almost just in conflict with myself, continually going back and forth on things. So I have found immensely the power of kind of leveling oneself up.
It's funny. I credit you to being one of the people who probably levels themselves up, or it's almost like you feel completely stagnant unless you're going through some kind of change. Uncomfortably stagnant. I reckon that the day that you'd be most frustrated would be the day that you're not working on something. So, but I find this challenging, even in myself, right? It's almost when I in the past have built a business, I'm building it for a layer of stability to get to this point where I'm that seems to be good. And then I acknowledge and recognize when I've hit my personal glass ceiling, because they call it a glass ceiling because you can't see it, Charlie. The thing that is stopping your business growing is that glass ceiling. The time that I know that I hit that glass ceiling is when I look at things like sales, marketing, operations. I'm this seems to be a pretty well-oiled machine. And I'm no, Grant, you just don't know what you don't know, which means you are now the limiter. There is no difference between what I'm doing and if you went and brought in Keith Cunningham into one of the businesses and just said, "Hey, Keith, what would you do here?" He would have a completely different view. And so I found this fascinating because it's the same for myself around training the mind. But the hardest thing, which is my question to you, the hardest thing that I have found is, at what point do I train the mind versus flipping it onto executing against it, versus then going from execution to training the mind again? Because it's this flywheel, this forever flywheel.
I can only share what my experience has been. I can't say this is the way for everyone. I have found I tend to go on a couple of years cycle. So I'll spend probably a year working on myself and then a year executing on that. And it seems to be this rotational stuff back and forth. Now, that doesn't mean there isn't some crossover things, right? It's not like I'm leveling up me and not trying to do things. It just seems that sliding scale over a couple of year period really changes. So most notably, when, let's say I start the media company, I'm leveling myself up as the media person. So in that year, I'm spending more time on training, less time on doing.
Yep.
The second year of the media company, though, I'm executing hard. It's less on personal growth and more on achieving the thing, getting the result. And I've just found that to be a bit of a cycle in myself. So coming forward to even other areas today, it's we're both playing golf, right? Can you see that we're mentally leveling up in a big way? And then at a future point, we'll probably spend more time playing golf than we are working on the skills of golf.
Yeah.
So I just see this like really interesting cycle. One of the things I'll just mention here as well is that I've seen a lot of business owners over the year where it's like they're trying to solve things to get to a point of stagnation. They feel like that goal, it's almost like the goal to get, and you called it stability, but it is stagnation.
So that level, that next level.
So my experience has been is stagnation isn't safe. Because as soon as you get stagnant, right, you get comfortable. And if you stay there too long, you actually get just overtaken. Like your competitors will come over the corner, you'll miss big innovation and become obsolete. Like in many, many ways, like a la Kodak.
Blockbuster.
Yeah, the stagnation is the thing that leads to the demise. So if you don't keep changing and evolving and growing in some way or shape or form, that stagnation period is there. And you could take this further, right? It's like, I think about the idea that stagnation is actually like you're going to be forced to change anyway. Like we are forced to change just by the nature of time. Like we get older, like you can't stay the same. It's not actually possible. Like environments change. We change as people. Like it's all a game of continual change. And I think it's a better approach to just get really good at change.
What is it? Like the only thing that's constant in life is death, taxes, and change.
Darwin, baby. It's all about Darwin.
Good old Darwin. It did. I got so much points to riff off on that, but I completely concur. The one trap that it just because I've just opened the wounds on everything, Charlie. One of the traps that I found myself in where like years ago, all I did was forever change, like forever personal development. And I never actually reviewed and tried to execute on top of it. So I would like continually improve. I'd buy programs, I'd watch videos, and it would be a forever personal development for years. And I never let it sink in.
Dude, I'm like, actually, my cheeks are hurting from smiling hard. You meet the people that are always improving and never doing.
Dude, and that was me. I was like, oh man, I'm going to do this meditation. No, hang on, I'm going to do this meditation. Oh wait, I heard this and I'm going to do this. And it was this perception of like training the mind, and then it would just never settle in to actually see, is this the right thing? Is this not the right thing? You just
I know
change.
People that have read 52 books a year, you wouldn't know, but.
Yeah, I know, right? Like those things. And so like there's this other side of it as well, which is hence my questions to it, because I found that years ago, especially when I started, man, everyone used to love the amount that I was consuming, but I just look back at it now going, dude, you had no idea.
There are definitely over-consumers out there. There's over-consumers out there in the same way, and I think it's a huge one.
Hey, fellow business owner, if this topic and value-packed short video has resonated with you at all, and you want to dive deeper into creating wealth inside and outside your business, check out the full episode by clicking the link on your screen or in the description right now.